guys? What's up? We're going to be going over the database today and finishing that off. So let's get right into it. It's the wrong thing. Okay, so I just want to finish up my note class. I just want to make sure that this looks right. And basically our note class, if you guys remember, is basically just a array list with a ID, and this is the ID it is in the database. Alright, cool. So let's go over to our note activity and then just make this note work. So instead of an array list called mItems, we're going to have a note called mNote. And then we're going to say mNote equal to a new note when we create the view. Why doesn't it like it? Oh, okay, it's because there's multiple notes. Alright, so we made our new note, and right here we're just going to say note dot get array list, and then I'll put the array list in here, and then just down here we're going to say note dot size note dot add. So just do public void, just add these methods, size and get. So size, let's do that one. This is returning int size, return array list. Oops. Yep. Array list dot size, and then dot add. We're taking in a string, so public string add string item. I'm just going to add that onto the array list. So array list dot add item, and this should be void. Okay. So our note activity should be working nice. Now let's go back to our data source. And okay, so we have our, I'm pretty sure the create notes is working pretty good. I mean, not create notes, put notes. Create notes is when we are grabbing a note from the, and we should really be passing in a ID. So let's take a look. We're just going to pass in a long ID for create notes. How we're going to do it is we're going to begin the transaction. Then to query a database, we need to use a cursor. Cursor is equal to SQLite database dot query, and we're going to say we're going to get the table that we want to query, which is note SQLite helper dot table. This is not actually, what we want to do is do the class because it's a static variable. Oops. So notes SQLite helper dot table. Okay, cool. And then we also want to grab which column we want to get, and the column we want to get is the note. So in column and then we want to get, okay, so the next, there's a lot of different queries, so let's just look at this. SQLite database.query and look at what the different ones are. Okay, so next one is selection arguments, then group by, then string having, and then order by, and then string limit. Okay. So I'm just going to go into Stack Overflow. Actually, I'm going to go Google. I'm just going to Google using a SQLite database because I'm not too familiar with using this cursor object to retrieve from the database. So we're just going to go SQLite database Android, and I remember reading a right here by Vogela. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but anyway, from this guy, he had a pretty good one that I read a while ago. And so what we're trying to do right now is we've already added our note to the database. The next thing we want to do is we want to retrieve it from the database. So that's what we want to look at. So, alright, so we made a database helper already. And then, alright, cool. And create comment. This is basically what we want to do right here. Oops. So new content values, you know, put, insert ID. Alright, so I'm gonna use this code for my, just gonna copy this. And we're just gonna refactor it so it works for ours. And let's honestly just get rid of this. This looks pretty wrong from what I had before. Okay, so content values and then values.put SQLite helper. So our SQLite helper is called notes SQLite helper, and then our column is notes column note list. And then we want to so why is he putting a comment? How's cursor to comment. So I need to think about how I want to do this. I need to make this all columns. All columns. We're just going to grab the ID and then the thing in the list. I'm just trying to figure out how this code is working for this, how he's making it work. So he's putting, okay, so it looks like he's entering, oh, this is different than what we want to do. So when he's creating this note, what he's doing is he's putting it in the database. Okay. Well, okay, I see what he's doing. So what he is doing is, instead of putting a put note, which is what we have, what he's doing is when he does create note, it's called note, what it's doing is it's putting the array list in the database and it's returning the array list back. So this is how you would create an array list, or create a note object. You'll be doing it through this notes data source. If this is kind of confusing, it's really confusing to me too, but you'll see how this is working in just a second. So we're going to change this to an array list. Array list strings called array list, and that's what we're going to pass here. Array list. We're going to pass in our database, then notes helper, and then our table. Null, and then we're going to pass value, and then right here we're just going to pass in our database. Oops. Database dot query, and then MySQLite helper. We're going to put MySQLite database. Oops. We actually want to do notes SQLite helper. And then we're going to get the table. We're going to get all columns. Then we're just going to get the column ID. Notes SQLite helper. And we have to do what we did down there. Then we're just going to be returning note, new note, and then returning new note. We actually should be just using this note object. And then we actually need to turn it into a string, because that's how we're storing it in the database. So note.get array list, and then input.string is what we want to put in. Input string. Alright, sweet. And then we just need to make this cursor.to comment for our specific thing. So he makes it right here. So what he's doing is this cursor to comment is just adding the ID to the object, so we can do that too. We're going to be returning a note, cursor to note. So this is going to be a new note. And just note.set ID, and we're just going to set it like that. And we're going to set the comment note.set. Okay, how do I do this? So let's look at how he's doing it again. Oh, he's not passing in a note, he's passing a comment. Okay, I see what's going on. Okay, so So when we initially make this note, there's not going to be anything in the array list, and then as they add on to it, I think that's fine. The create note is just going to be empty like this. And this is what our create note looks like. And then cursor to note, and we're just going to return note. Okay, we're just going to make it like this. So right now we're basically storing an empty array list in the what we need to make sure about is okay, this is pretty much pointless on what this is doing. I'm not sure how I want to work this. I guess to create the node, I want to pass in. Let's pass in an array list string. And then this array list we will. Okay. And then down here we need to have in our node we need to make a. So in his create comment, cursor to comment, he sets the comment. Okay, he just sets the comment. So we can do that too then. In our note, we need to have a set array list. We already have a set array list. Okay. Note.set array list is equal to cursor.getString 1. Is that right? Yeah. And then this string we need to, okay, so right now this is a JSON array, so we need to do new JSON. Okay, so we want to convert this back to an array list. So we're going to say new array list. And we need to turn this into a JSON array. So JSON array dot, don't define anything. It's a new JSON array. Plug it in here. Dot to So basically right now we're storing a string in the database, and what we want to do is we want to turn that string back into an array list. So I'm just going to look at how to convert. We can close this, we don't need this. We have too many tabs up right now. Okay, how to convert. Let's see what the problem is. Let's just see if this works. Can we just, it doesn't even like, okay, we have to, oh, it has an unhandled exception, that's not what it likes. Okay, we can wrap that in a try block. We don't care about this. Okay, so we need how to convert a JSON array into a array list. And we need to go to Google because that's a superior search engine. Okay, so how is he doing it? Okay, that's pretty simple. Okay, so create a new JSON array, and then therefore and I is equal to 0. We're just going to loop through the JSON array and then add each element. That looks like the best way. I didn't know if there's a built-in method already, or if we'd have to do that. Array list string array list equals new array list. Okay, and then in this array list, we're going to just add, and then we're going to add JSON array dot get, and then we're going to just toString. Does that look right? Yep. Cool. And then we're just going to return array list. And then we're returning note. Cool. Cursor to note looks like it's working pretty good now. So let's look at the other methods that he's using. So he uses this to get all the comments. Do I want to do that? We can wait on doing that. Something we can add later. We can worry about delete too. What we want now is do an update. He doesn't show how to do an update one. Bummer. Yeah, he's not showing how to update it because our array list is constantly going to update. I mean, we can just try what we have right now for the update notes and see if that works. And we're just gonna pass in here string.value of, and then we're just going to do get our note. Wait, update note. Should pass this a note. Wait. We should not be. Our update note is messed up. We don't need any of this. Wait, yes we do, because we're updating it. Alright, note.get array list. And then we're putting it good. And then we're just going to say note.get ID. And maybe this works. Okay, I think this is set up pretty well. So we have an update, we have a create, and then we have, yeah, I don't think this, we can just we don't have to comment this out. We can just, I don't think, we can add the delete stuff. Let's just, okay, let's go ahead and try this and see if it works. So, create note. So how is this going to work? Because in my note here, I am making a new array list. We don't have to do that. We can just leave it empty. Okay, so we need to set up this data source in this activity. So how are we going to do that? I've done this one time before, and so in the onCreate, we need to make a member variable. So notes data source, it's just notes data source. I like to prefix my variables with m. A lot of the Google does it for member variables. That's what the M stands for, and I've just kind of followed that, and so that's why you see me doing that here. Okay, so we're gonna create a new one. So notes data source is equal to a new notes data source. We need to just pass in a context. And then next we want to open up the database. Dot open. And then what we can do is say note is equal to, instead of doing new note, we're going to be saying create note. So m notes data source dot create note, and then right here we're just going to there's a flaw with this. I set this up wrong, I think. There's something wrong with my create note, because how am I getting the note to, when I create the note, if it's, well, I'm getting it right away. Well, I'm passing in a new array list. And it overwrites it, and there's no array list. This is tough. Let's go look at his example some more. I messed this up, I'm pretty sure. So let's look at his activity. So he creates a new data source. He opens database, and then he gets all comments. Okay. And then he's creating a comment. He's deleting comments. That's all. Okay, yeah, we also need to do this. Let's copy that real quick. We want to make sure to close the database. That's very important. You can mess stuff up. Make sure we're back in the activity. Alright, so we're closing the data source. So we need to have a get all comments kind of thing. Hello, Warpcraft. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I want to... I need to have a way, if we come into here, I need to have a way, so if I don't have, if this is a brand new note that they have, okay, so what I can do is, okay, I know what I can do. So what we can do is, from my main activity, we need to just set an intent flag. I think it's flag. No, it's an extra. And we're just going to add source. And then we're going to put new note. And then we're going to say right here, if get intent dot get extras, passing in source is equal to new note, and we want to create a brand new array list. Otherwise, this is crap. I'm setting this up all wrong, I think. No. Well, let's see why it doesn't like this. Alright, so I think, will that work? I think I can get rid of get extra. No? So, when I save a note, okay, yeah, that's what we'll do. Alright, so I'm changing my mind a little bit. How our app is working, it's working a little differently than the example that we were looking at. So this create node is not going to really work for us. We want to do just a put note. This put note is going to work out the best for us. So what we're going to do is just pass, we can get rid of this. Well, actually, we could use that later. I'm not going to get rid of it yet. This put notes is going to be a put note. We're just going to pass in a note. And just say note.getArrayList. Okay, so this is inserting it into the table. And shoot. So, okay, so we insert it into the table. And what we want to do is we want to give that note a ID. And so, alright, so when they put a note for the first time, we're creating a new ID for them. Let's copy how this is working, because this is how we want to do it. Note.getArrayList. Alright, so we're getting the array list, passing it, making it, we're putting it into the database, then we're inserting, we're storing the insert ID, and then with that insert ID, we're querying the table. So he's just okay, so this is how he's getting the ID. and then okay, so this is okay, so I just need to think about this for a moment. How am I gonna want to set this up? So if this is the first time they're ever making a note, what they're gonna do is they're gonna click a new note, and I'm not gonna load anything from the database because it's a new note. Now if they are clicking a ready-made note, what's gonna come up is an array list of all the stuff that they have. And then I'm just thinking about how I want to store it and then recall it. So let me look at how I did it over in my other app that I made. Let's take a look at this data source. I was only ever storing one thing at a time, so this is a bad example. I'm just gonna close this project for now. I actually don't think that can help us. Okay, so I'm giving them a custom ID. I'm giving it a custom ID. That way we can update it later. Not update it. Is that right, though? He's not showing how he updates. Just search this. Okay, so this is how he's updating it right here. This looks like a fancier tutorial, though. This looks like a little different than his comment example. Okay, you must implement the methods. Query, insert, update, delete, get type. Oh, this is something else. Ah, these are a headache. Databases are the worst. Okay, so let's just read through his code again. Maybe it'll make sense to me. So what is he doing for get all comments? So he's grabbing every single comment that he has in the list or in the database and just putting in a list. Okay, so he doesn't have any method for basically fetching out. So once we add a certain note to the database, we then have to be able to get the note back by its ID. So we need to somehow store the ID with it. Is that right? Because okay, so let me draw this in Paint. We're gonna have, let's say we have two notes, note 1 and note 2, and they're sitting in our database. And let's say I'm creating a new. I'm not creating a new note. I click. Let's say I'm on my note page and I click an existing note, and in my code I want to get the array list from the database. I have to tell the database whether I want to get 1 or if I want to get 2. So how do I know whether I want to get 1 or I want to get 2? I need to somehow store. Alright, let's go back to look at this. zoom out. Database model. Okay, we made that. User interface. Test database activity. Okay, if you notice for his database example, he does not need to get a specific comment in the app. At least it doesn't look like it. He's just getting all of them. Is that right? So comment, get list adapter, comment, and then save the next new comment to the database. Add. Doesn't look like it to me. I could be wrong though. Running the new app's content. What is content provider? SQL database is a private to the application which it creates. If you want to share data with other applications, you could choose. Alright, we don't want to do this at all. We're not sharing data with other stuff right now. We can skip this tutorial. See if he has another one. Purpose of a loader class. We may want to implement this later, but not right now, I don't think. This looks exactly like how we wanted. This looks similar to what we want to do in our app. Okay, I need to read this tutorial. This one looks very similar to what I want to make. So, okay, how is he doing it? Alright. Do I want to add this on upgrade thing? Yeah, I think this is probably a good idea to add. This is just a log drop table if exists. You know, I don't think I actually want to add this upgrade. Okay, so this is his helper. Wait, what was this then? Oh, this is a class he made. This is his helper. He split those up. And his content provider. Final entities used for the URI matcher. See, this is a little bit, and when I say a little bit more, wow, this looks really complicated. Alright, let's dig into this. Okay, so here's his database. Used for a URI matcher. To do is equal to 10. To do's ID is 20. String authority. d.vogela. Okay. Base path. URI content. Base. Content resolver. Cursor to path. URI matcher. SURI matcher. No match. On create. We're going to query using SQLite builder. Check if the caller has requested a column which does not exist. Alright, this is getting quite complex for getting this database set up, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a night early. I'm going to do some research between my next video, and I'll check out how that stuff works, and I'll implement it into the database and get this thing running probably tomorrow. So thanks for watching today, and gonna call it a night.